Yo, what's up guys, and welcome back to Pokemon Showdown. Now this video will be a little bit different from the usual competitive content or even the fun Pokemon content, whatever you want to call it, on my channel. It is going to be a competitive video, yes, but it's mainly going to be opinionated, and it's going to be filled with my opinion on, well, if you can't read the title, it says, tips and tricks for laddering, and that's just basically my opinion. This isn't scripted, this is just me talking freely to you guys. And there's not going to be any visuals for this, mainly just the Pokemon Showdown background. You know, Whitney with the Bronx Bear Ticks looking nice. But in any case, you guys can just do whatever you want to do. Maybe eat or listen to this while you're doing homework or whatever, because I'm just going to be talking to you for a little bit. But a lot of people have asked me, I was going to start at like 0. Nah, but a lot of people have asked me, how do you ladder? How do you get so high on the ladder? How do you do all this? Yes, a lot of it is experience, and experience is gained through winning and through losing. But there's also other things that I do that help me climb the ladder easier. For example, to start it off, let's start with the bottom of the ladder. The bottom of the ladder is what Janvet and I like to call the scariest part of Pokemon Showdown. Why? Because you never ever know what your opponent is capable of. Especially if this is their first battle. You see a team with Vaporeon, Espeon, I was going to say Evian, Flareon, Jolteon, basically an evolution team. And you underestimate it, and okay, for example, a team like this. Both of these teams. I see Licky, I see a Bounce Substrika, and I underestimate my opponent, but I try and make a play. And like, let's say, oh man, I'm going to predict his bounce, so I'm going to go out into my... let's say he had a rock type right here. I'm going to go out to my rock type, and this dude randomly clicks HP grass. I mean, it could be a prediction, yes. But let's say, oh, okay, he's definitely going to fear my earthquake. So he's going to go out into his, Landorus. So let me pull a double into my Swampert. And he clicks HP grass again on your rock or ground or whatever type. That was a horrible explanation. But the thing is, the opponents down here are very, very unpredictable. You never know what your opponent's going to do. So my best advice for when I start on the ladder, and what I do when I start on the bottom of the ladder, I believe the best way to go is honestly hyper offense, but a specific type of hyper offense, being spike stacking. So Focus Sash spike leaders like Frostlass, Ferrothorn with spikes, Skarmory with Custap Berry and spikes, because it's the fastest way to ladder versus an opponent who may not be experienced or who may just be, a bit new to the game and to the ladder, and it's one of the most reliable ways to win without having to really worry about your opponent's skill level, without having to worry about making a terrible play and then your opponent having quick attack, life, or spec Sylveon, even though that is something that's been run in VGC, but your opponent having like quick attack Sylveon and it picks you off because you let your team get really low, but you're like, oh, I went with my Latios' Psyshock, so it doesn't matter, it picks you off with a quick attack or whatever. But it's just things like that. It's one of the easiest way to wins, and the reason I say that is because spike stacking hyper offense, and I'm kind of interested to see how the end of this battle goes, so I'm just gonna put this on the screen. Looks like this guy wins though. I feel like he's one of those shadow sneaking guys. I don't know why he didn't Mega Evolve. Why are you SDing up? Anyway, see, spike stacking offense is one of the best ways to play, I feel, just because you rely on yourself and your priority. So spike stacking offense, let's just talk about it a little bit. It has a bunch of priority users. You probably have Bisharp, you probably have Talonflame, you probably have Garchomp, because that's a staple in hyper offense. So with that, you basically set up hazards and you set up yourself to sweep with one of your users. You set up hazards, you send out Talonflame. Oh, they send out their Rotom. You go for SD, and then you weaken it with Brave Bird. That way you weaken it for your Bisharp in the back. You set up an SD, and you win with that. You click Sucker Punch. Basically, I think hyper offense, specifically spike stacking hyper offense, is probably one of the best ways to start off on the bottom of the ladder, because it lets you get quick games. Those games usually last 10 to 15 turns. You get up all your layers, and you just start attacking with your powerful Pokemon, start setting up and hitting, and it's one of the best ways to deal with the newer players, especially because a lot of newer players don't really know much about defog, don't really have hazard control, or they might not just even know how to play versus it simply because they're new to it. Now, that's what I like to do on the bottom of the ladder. I love to use, and again, this is just my opinion, and you can take from it what you will. But I love to use spike stacking on the bottom of the ladder. Sometimes I'll use bulky offense. Bulky offense is more of a balanced type of team. Not really though, but it's basically offense with Pokemon that can take some hits, with maybe some pivots. So maybe I'll have like a Tank Chomp, or maybe I'll have like a Ferrothorn on it though. I guess you can consider that balance more. But in any case, it's also Pokemon. It lets me dish out hard, or hit hard, dish out attacks, and also have some sort of Pokemon to switch into for the random Thunderbolt Lickys on the bottom of the ladder, or the Specsylveons, or the Mandabuzzes that are also, not even Mandabuzzes, but just basically a lot of Pokemon you wouldn't normally see in high level play. They're on the bottom of the ladder. Offense is probably one of the best ways to go. Not a huge fan of balance, though. Like I did say, I do use it sometimes, but it's sometimes bad because balance can be slower, and your opponent can sometimes overpower you with their weird mons. Offense is more so you set up hazards and you start sweeping your opponent. Holy crap, J-Care, man, you're coming back, bro. But no, he's coming back. In any case, that's just something like I like to do on the bottom of the ladder. This will be like the first couple games. I probably do this from 1,000 points to 1,300 points because it's the fastest way to get up there. You maybe need only like 14, 15 games, and I even like to play like 3-4 games at once, just because it doesn't need my full attention. It's spike stacking. I set up hazards and I try and attack. Sorry, I was just drinking some water. But the next thing that I want to talk about is the middle of the ladder. Now, alright, so you beat the lower ladder. You're coming up to top 500, or you're getting there. You're around 1,300, 1,400, 1,500. Now here's where the opponents start getting better. And this is where maybe spike offense won't always work for you. Why? Because they'll start running, maybe they'll start running Mega Sableye teams, which are like the bane of the existences for spike stacking teams. Unless you're running like a powerful fairy or something like that. But this is where I really love to run balance. I love to run Pokemon like SD Gliscor. I love to run Calm Mind Slowbro. I love to run Choice Banded Azumarill, Calm Mind Clefable. Why? Because right here is where you start facing those teams that are already prepped for spike stacking. That's where you start facing the teams with this is where you start facing the Heatran, Gliscor, Ferrothorn type of teams, Garchomp as their only counter to Bisharp and Lopunny and stuff like that. So you can even run bulky offense or balance. But this is just where I like to run teams that I'm comfortable with, teams that I've used before and won. I don't like to use those specifically for the bottom of the ladder. Why? Because maybe I'll be comfortable with this team, but only because I can make a certain play when my opponent has a certain threat. When you're on the bottom of the ladder, like I said, you're gonna want some hazards, some spike stacking. Again, I might be repeating myself a lot, but this is just how I am, so I just try to get the point across, and this is how I talk. But in any case, I love to use teams that I am comfy with. I'll show you an example right here of a team that I am pretty comfortable with, that I like to use. For example, this Mega Scizor Balance team. I really like it. A lot of the mid-level players have problems dealing with Pokemon like Manaphy, Pokemon like Stallbreaker Mew, Gengar, for example. And I really love, they're not only Stallbreakers, but they also overpower a lot of the balanced teams that you find at this part, because a lot of people also like to run balance around this part. So, love balance breakers, Zard X, Zard Y, Weavile, Mega Medicham, all these Pokemon. I love these around this part of the ladder simply because a lot of people are running balance. They're running their Gliscors, their Ferrothorns, their Heatrans, their Choice Scarf, T-Tars. Their counter to Manaphy is either Life Orb Latios, or Latias, obviously, or Ferrothorn. And you just use HP Fire Ferrothorn, HP Fire Manaphy, excuse me. Not HP Fire Ferrothorn, but use HP Fire Manaphy around this part of the ladder. This is where I don't like to rely on spike stacking offense, because if they have... One, I hate playing offense versus offense, because you have to go aggro the entire time. Aggro, you know, go aggressive. Predict, make double switches, do all that stuff. Sorry, I just smacked my mic. But, yeah, I love to run balance breakers. I love to run... I like balance as well, but I like balance with Pokemon that just threaten other balance teams, such as Life Orb Gengar, such as Tailglow, Manaphy. I've even gone so far as Tailglowing up turn 1 just to weaken Pokemon such as Rotom and get rid of Ferrothorn for Pokemon such as Scizor, such as Gengar and stuff like that. See, at this point, a lot of people like to run their teams as well with Bisharp and things like that. So you got to be careful about those. You'll probably see some Hippo, Talonflame, Clefable start stuff. So Stall Breakers are great. Balance Breakers are better, I feel, in this part of the ladder. Now, as you're getting higher up on the ladder, at some point, 16 to 1800, and I think higher than 1800 would be considered high ladder, but 16 to 1800, you start seeing a lot of stall teams. You start seeing this Mega Sableye stall that's been oh so common. And I want to say something about using stall, guys. If you feel like you got to use stall to ladder, make sure you know how to use a stall team. Make sure you've practiced. Yes, the ladder is good for practice, but I wouldn't practice on high on the ladder high with your basically if you're high up on the ladder with your stall teams, especially if you don't know how to use it. Why? Because you're going to lose a lot. A stall team is very easy to break when your opponent does not know what they're doing. This stall team, for example, if I'm playing an opponent that does not know what they're doing, Life Orb Tornadus or even Assault Vest Tornadus just puts in work versus this team. So it's definitely, if you want to use stall, you definitely need to know. You have to have some sort of practice. So I would suggest practicing against people. Watch other people play stall. Watch what they do. Stall is a lot less aggressive of a playstyle. It's literally stall. You are stalling out your opponent from doing anything. Now, this is one of the most up-to-date stall teams. Other ones have Choice Scarf, T-Tart. Gothitelle is in a lot of stall teams because it gets rid of Pokemon like Calm Mind, Clefable, Pokemon like Koopa if they run Signal Beam, Pokemon like that can break stall breakers. It gets rid of stall breakers, Mega Heracross, all that stuff. So, also, if you're also, you know, finding yourself in a position where, wow, man, I keep losing to this specific stall team, change up your teams. Don't be afraid to change up your teams. If you keep losing to Talonflame, then change something on your team. That way you will not keep losing to Talonflame. That way you can beat it comfortably. Add Garchomp, add Rotom, add Landorus T, add any rock type or any bulky water. Just things like that. Change up your team. Don't be afraid to change up your team. If you're like, oh man, I love using my 6 favorite mons, but I keep losing to the stupid OU Pokemon like Bisharp and Keldeo. Well, you can still use your 6 favorite mons, but maybe not all on the same team, okay? Just change it up a little bit. Adapt to what is on the ladder. That's why what I like to do, well, I usually do it while I'm watching. This is why I like watching Showdown Lives from Jambat and Blender and Envy, because they play higher up on the ladder, so I get to see what's common on the ladder. Blender has horrible luck, so he always plays stall. Jam plays more balance, and so does Envy when they're playing. Not that they use it, they're playing a lot of stuff. So I get to see a lot of stuff that's common. I get to see, also seeing the sample teams going through this. A lot of these teams are running right now on the ladder. Why? Because they're sample teams for getting into the tier. Excuse me, I'm a little bit sick and tired. Wow, I just yawned. But you know what is being used as well. And if you're having trouble with stall, use stall breakers. If you're losing because Gothitelle keeps trapping your Pokemon, run Shed Shell on your stall breakers. CBB was using Shed Shell Hoopa with like Grass Knot, Knockoff, Dark Pulse, or something like that, and it would break stall teams in half. It also wasn't bad versus balance because Hoopa does best versus slower teams. So use stall breakers, especially if you keep running into stall at this part of the ladder. As I got higher on the ladder, my favorite type of team, I think it's all about using what you're good with, what you're consistent with. As I got higher on the ladder, I'm trying to find the team right now, that way I can show you guys. But as I got higher on the ladder, I started using this this Mega Scizor bulky offensive team. I wouldn't consider it balanced, even though I do have Tornadus and defensive Landers, because I started using this team because I played so many games with this team that I knew how to deal with threats. Yes, Mega Manectric is a threat to this team, it definitely is, but I know how to deal with it. I love Banded Hoopa because it is a stall breaker. Nothing on stall switches into this thing. You predict Clefable once, it's gone. Hyperspace Fury 2 KOs everything, and Clefable has to run unaware, so if you get up some sort of hazards, you're good versus that, or even if you Toxic it, and I have Raikou to support it. So make sure your team does what you need it to do as well. Adjust your team. This team, for example, has Toxic Raikou. Why? Because it weakens and wears down Pokemon such as Hippowdon for Choice Banded Hoopa to easily 2-hit KO it. After a poison, one turn of poison, your Hippowdon is 2-hit KO'd, so that helps with Hoopa. that helps with Mega Scizor. Obviously this thing is grass nut, so it also helps with Hoopa and things like that. But make sure your team is adjusted to what you need it to do, and be comfy with what you're using on the top of the ladder. Like I said, you see the top players on the ladder. Well, obviously this is all the OLT stuff going on right now, but you see the top players on the ladder. You want to see what they're using. I'm not telling you to snipe them. No, I'm not telling you to snipe them, guys. But pay attention to what they're using. Be comfortable with what you're using. Feel free to ask questions like why is my opponent using this, and maybe do some research as well. Like you see this type of team, for example, there's a description of it. It literally tells you what the team does. Quagsire is a necessity on most all teams, but on Goth stall, especially because Goth allows free setup for many Pokemon like Bisharp and Scizor. Quagsire helps Gothitelle and helps this entire team not get swept by Pokemon like Bisharp and Scizor. Unless you run into my boy Grassnot Bisharp, But in any case, this is just what I like to do. Also take breaks. If you find yourself losing a lot, you don't want to go on tilt. Tilt is, to put it in layman terms, it's literally losing and then losing more because you lost. Basically, you're so focused on that one loss, you're like, crap man, I could have done that better, that you keep losing because your mind isn't in the game anymore. It's on that loss. So if you're going on tilt, if you're losing, take a break. Don't be afraid to switch up your teams. Practice with other things. If you are high on the ladder and it's your first time being high on the ladder, you don't necessarily have to play on that account. You can switch up accounts. This is another thing that a lot of people don't do, and they drop constantly. You can switch up accounts and test a different team. What I like to do if I have a new team and I really wanted to win, well, if I got it from a trusted builder, I just play with it. But if I really want to win, I go on and make a new account, or I go on like test alt and I ladder up, or I go on one of my friends' alts and I ladder up because I learn how to use a team. I learn what is best versus certain things, because you're always going to play a team better when you are comfortable with it and when you know exactly what you have to do when you see a certain Pokemon. For example, again, going back to this team, when I see Mega Manectric, I Toxic it with Raikou, I Volt Switch around, if Landorus is out, I might just go for Earthquake over Stealth Rock. When I see a Pokemon such as Mega Lopunny or Mega Medicham, I literally pivot into Landorus because I get the Rocky Helmet damage. One Rocky Helmet hit plus Stealth Rock means that SD Scizor beats it with Bullet Punch at +2. I pivot into Pokemon like Raikou and Landorus when I face Clefable before I go directly into Scizor or Hoopa, because I don't want to get Thunder Wave, Flamethrower, or Moonblasted. I'd rather sack this Pokemon if it's not doing work. And sometimes you need to make plays too. Also, if you're using offense, you can't be afraid to make plays. You got to think of it like this. Well, if I don't make this play and I switch onto this Pokemon, I lose anyway, so I might as well try and pull this double and be aggressive with it. But this is all the stuff that I think about and that, has helped me ladder during the years. This is just what I see. This is what I see when I play, and this is how I play. Obviously, this video probably isn't for everyone. This is literally me talking about how I ladder. And also, I think another thing is, don't get upset, man. It's really hard not to get upset when you get hacks and when you really want to win. Trust me, I know. That's why I'm not the biggest fans of tournaments like laddering tournaments or anything in general. It sucks being hacked, which is why I prefer, that's why I'm really casual and really chill when it comes to regular Showdown lives. But in a tournament, if I'm recording live and the guy hacks me, I can be upset for a reason. It's a game I'm passionate about, so I'm allowed to show human emotion. I am a human being. But you can't let that emotion take over, cloud you from seeing how you're going to win the game. During my SPL games, I would be playing one of my SPL games my World Cup game from last year. I played someone, I forgot his name, and he crit something with his Azumarill. And Azumarill was a big check to my team. It blew me back completely. And I remember a lot of people that were supporting me were being upset, but I was like, I can't get upset right now. It's fine. It's literally fine. I see how I can win even without Azumarill. It's going to be a little bit harder, but if I can make certain plays, I can win. And then I won that game because I kept my cool. That's something you have to do when you ladder, definitely. Another thing I encourage if you're laddering, especially if it's stressful for you, ladder and call with your friends. Just be in call with your friends. Pokemon is supposed to be a fun game. I find laddering for OLT a lot easier when I'm literally laughing in call with my friends. And it's not that they're even ghosting me, because I actually streamed OLT last night and I laddered up all the way to number 2 on the ladder from like 1400. Unfortunately, because the ladder went down, they extended the deadline and I did not make it for OLT. Sucks, but whatever. Maybe I'll try with this one. Maybe I'll stream it later, actually, today. But in any case, it's a lot easier to ladder when you're laughing with your friends, when you are enjoying Pokemon. And this is different than Heat Up Heater when you're recording Showdown Live with them. They're not playing for you, they're not giving you suggestions, they're just watching, you're enjoying, you're talking about stuff. As long as you can still pay attention to the game and you're having fun, go for it. So these are just my little tips for how I ladder. Study, see what your opponent can do, learn what your team does, learn how to use your team, see how you can face certain threats. But in any case, that's going to be it. Hope you guys all enjoyed. If you did not, it's completely fine. Feel free to leave your opinion in the comments. This is, again, is my opinion. Literally what you tell me, if you tell me that I'm wrong, you actually cannot tell me I'm wrong, because this is how I play. This is actually how I play. Again, you can leave your little helpful tips if you want. Drink water, eat, have good blood. Make sure your sugar is up, man. Don't... Who won? Oh my god, did anybody see this coming? Oh my god. But in any case, guys, hope you guys all enjoyed. Feel free to leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you want. And, you know, check out the Cage Lock, which just launched today, as well as stay tuned for a stream coming up later. So, later, guys.